like your eyes, you look away when you pretend not to care. I like that.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi friends, nice to meet you all. Let me introduce myself before. My name is Fasikha Al-Izhar, my student number is 57. And in this very special occasion, I would like to say to you about my PPT. The title is Politeness. So, happy watching!
Okay, before we learn together about politeness, so you must know the definition about politeness first. Okay, look at the first slide. Politeness is an extremely broad phenomenon existing at the interface of linguistic, social, and cognitive processes. It refers roughly to the way one thinks, and the way one thinks is a result of a speaker's cognitive assessment of the social context. Now, politeness refers not to like a conception of politeness or a set of protocol regarding how one is to behave in different social settings. Instead, politeness is a technical term, a theoretical construct involved as a means of explaining the link between language use and the social context. The next is the most popular theory about politeness is from Brown and Levinson. In this theory, Brown and Levinson attempt to specify the various ways in which people use language in the service of face management. In doing so, they borrow heavily from the writings of Irving Goffman on the topic of face and face management. So, this theory has been extremely influential, and for good reason. It represents a framework for linking the major dimension of social interaction with the ways in which people talk with one another. The next slide is face and face work from Goffman's theory. According to Goffman, face is the positive social value a person effectively claims for himself by the line others assume he has taken during a particular context. So, in my opinion, face is one situated identity, but it is not a specific identity. Rather, it is a successful presentation of any identity. Face, then, is something that resides not within an individual, but rather within the flow of events in an encounter. Also, next is face work. What is face work? Based on Goffman theory, face work is a not trivial or sometime thing. It is the ritual attention that people must give to one another that interaction can be mobilized to be regulating participant in social. So, face work is how to show your face to another, so they can interact as well. Next is face saving egg. Brown and Levinson argue that face is subject to continued treat during the course of social interaction. Positive face are treated not by contact with others that are crucial to our existence. Instead, negative face is threatened when one's freedom to engage in various courses of action, including the most insignificant action, is diminished. In a sense, merely participating in a conversation threatens one's negative face at some minimal level, because one is required to respond to the other person. Other things can become more complicated because sometimes verbal action can give implication for the face.
For giving the clear explanation, I'll give you the example of negative face and the positive face. First is negative face is need to be independent and free. Instead, the positive face is need to be connected and a member of the crew. And the first example about negative face is I'm sorry to bother you. But in positive face, we can say let's do it together. Another example in negative phrase is we can say, I know you are busy. But in positive phrase, you can say, you and I have a same problem.
Next, we are going to learn about the types of politeness strategies. In here, there are 4 types of politeness strategies described by Brown and Levinson that sum up human politeness behavior. The first one is bow on the record, and the next is negative politeness, and the third is positive politeness, and lastly is off-record indirect strategy. Okay, first, we learn about positive politeness strategy. In here, positive politeness, it is usually seen in group of friends or where people in the given social situation know each other fairly well. It usually tries to minimize the distance between them by expressing friendliness and sole interest in the hearer's need to be respected. Okay, look at the example in here. Is it okay if I use one of those pens? Why this example includes positive politeness strategy? Because in this situation, you recognize that your teacher has a desire to be respected. It also confirms that the relationship is friendly and express group reciprocity. And the next types is negative politeness strategy. The main focus for using this strategy is to assume that you might not be imposing on the hearer and intruding on their space. Therefore, they automatically assume that there might be some social distance in this situation. The example is, I'm sorry to bother you, but I just wanted to ask you if I could use one of those pens. Why this situation includes negative politeness strategies? Because you recognize that your teacher has a desire to be respected. However, you also assume that you are in the same way imposing on them. Some other example, want to be shy, I don't want to bother you, or I was wondering if. Thirdly is bound on record strategy. Bound on record strategy can be treated as speaking and conformity with Gurus maxim. These maxims are an intuitive characterization of conversational principles that will constitute guidelines for achieving maximally efficient communication. Example: oh, I want to use one of those. Why? This example includes bow and record strategy because this is what provides no effort to minimize threat to your teacher face. The last type is off-record indirect strategy. Off-record indirect strategy uses indirect language and removes the speaker from the potential to be imposing. For example, I sure could use a blue pen right now. The main purpose is to stamp the presence of you. You are trying directly impose by asking for a pen. Instead, you would rather it to be offered you one once the teacher realizes you need one, and you are looking to find one. The next topic is about face-threatening acts. So, face-threatening acts are acts which in some way threaten the face or self-image of other people in communication. Born and Levison in Nation and Arianti, 2013, state that face-threatening acts threatens not only the hearer's face but also threatens of the speaker's face. Any act that speaker produces can be face-threatening acts if those acts are contrary with wants or desire of the speaker. So, what kinds of face-threatening acts? In here, there are 2 kinds of face-threatening acts. The first one is negative face-threatening acts. It is threatened when someone does an act that can cause any disruption to their interlocutors wants to be free to do everything on their own. There are negative fast threatening acts to hearer and the speaker.
The example of negative fast threatening act to hearer is agree or reject doing something. The example is no, you should go working. Nah, in here speaker indicates that he thinks hearer has to do some acts and it can damage hearer are negative fast. Next is the example of negative fast threatening act to speaker. So the speaker refers to the power of the hearer. The example is, thank you very much, man, I owe you my life. In here, the speaker humbles his own face by expressing thanks to the hearer. By doing that, the speaker increases the possibility of him accepting what the hearer might ask him to do in the future, and it's contradictory with his negative phrase.
And the next kinds of fast threatening acts is positive fast threatening acts. So, positive fast threatening act threatened when the speaker or hearer does not care about their interlocutor's feelings, wants, or does not want what the other wants. There are positive fast threatening acts through hearer and the speaker.
Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention. Hopefully you can learn about it and enjoy it. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.